Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Plant Powered Business Strategies to Grow Your Positive Impact. My name's Brianna, and as always, I'm joined by my friend and co host, Johanna.
Hi there.
Today, we are diving into the often controversial topic of AI and your business. Especially as ethical business owners, those that care about the environment and animals, this question comes up a lot. Should you be using this new tool? If you are using it, how often should you use it? Where should you use it? Is it helpful? How is it helpful? Everyone's jumping on the bandwagon and you might feel lost in the shuffle. We're going to have an open conversation about how we're thinking about AI. Hopefully this leads to some ideas for you to experiment with the new tool or gives you guidance on how you want to approach it or maybe just leave it alone altogether. Johanna, you ready to dive in?
Yeah, like excited and nervous, but I'm ready.
That kind of wraps up how like experiencing AI in this age feels right now, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Yeah,
It's interesting 'cause I recognize that I feel like I should come here with some very like formulated thoughts or ideas or that I would be that I should have like a lot of knowledge to share, but we're all I guess still experimenting. It's a fairly new technology. So yeah, I'm just hoping that our conversation can offer some tools for thinking or thoughts, food for thought. Is that what do you say? Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things, like as a disclaimer that I want to put at the top of this conversation is I hear a lot of polarization when I ask people about AI. Like they're very pro AI or they're very anti AI. And for this conversation, I want to challenge everyone listening to just, you don't have to be either. Try to be open to sitting somewhere in the middle, being open to the gray area, seeing where it could be beneficial, seeing where it might be super problematic. Let all the information soak in and see what resonates most for you. I think when we align too much in those polar ends, we miss out on some pretty interesting perspectives. So, we're trying to have an open conversation here about expanding our business in interesting ways, embracing new technological advances that could help us in the future, but also being really, really aware of how that's impacting the environment, the community that we all care about and want to protect. So, Johanna, I'm curious, and I'm happy to go first because I know you said you're still on the edge of diving in, but have you started experimenting with AI? Are you using it in your business at all?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Basically every day or like
Oh, okay.
almost every day. Let me clarify. When I say AI, I mean like generative AI like this ChatGPT, Claude, these kinds of
Mhm.
things. I've been using ChatGPT until now, but I'm in the process of moving to Claude. I've heard people recommend Claude like mainly for, political reasons and also out of curiosity. So actually this weekend, my subscription, because I'm paying for it, it's
Yeah.
coming to an end. So I'm gonna make the switch, and I'm like, yeah, also nervous about that because I've been using ChatGPT, I think, since I guess I started at some point in 2023, slowly, 24 maybe. I mean, I remember that it came out like end of 2022, and I'm old school, and I remember being very cautious at the beginning and or like from a very like early stage thinking like, yeah, I don't know what this like hype is about. Like I'm just kind of like I'd rather look at it from the sidelines. But actually my partner was one of the people who was like, hey, in the business that you're in, like you have to experiment. Like you don't wanna find yourself left out. Like this is probably the future. So slowly I started experimenting, and like this is the surprising thing. And sometimes it scares me a little bit how quickly it's become a part of my workflow, like the way that I work, like automating some tasks that otherwise would take like forever. I would back in the day I would have had to delegate them to a whole other person. So yeah, I do use AI, and maybe next thing we can talk about how. But how about you? Is it like a part of your
Oh.
everyday life already or your work?
It is. It is. And similarly, funny enough, It's so interesting that you said that. I am currently making the shift to Claude as well.
Okay. Good
Same
on us.
reason. I missed the boat for this month's renewal, so I'm in the
Okay.
process of comparing
Yeah.
ChatGPT and Claude, so I'm making them compete against each other, which is really
Okay,
funny.
that's
Like,
good.
I'll pace back and forth between them. I'll be like, "Well, ChatGPT said this, Claude said this," make them compete against each other to see if that changes the results at all. But yeah, yeah, I am happy with Claude. I still see limitations that I was seeing in ChatGPT, and we'll get into limitations too, especially as copywriters. One of the first things that we see is when people copy and paste what AI gives them and publish it or expect it to perform like a human writing would. So there are definitely still limitations where I'm like, "Oh, that's not good." This is definitely a rough, rough first draft. But, yeah, so I am in ChatGPT, I'm in Claude. I use it primarily for brainstorming strategy or more difficult coding things. Like, I am not a tech person, so I'll paste bits of code and I'll be like, "What did I miss here?" Or "How do I make it do this?" And they'll sort through the code with me. I also really like the project features that each of them has because as a freelancer, we can set up for each of our clients, put in brand voices, and have it be a partner as we're strategizing for our clients and their writing, right? But with the huge caveat that we're not putting in proprietary information, we're not sharing anything sensitive, we're not just copy and pasting whatever AI gives us and giving it to the client as our own work. Like this is another tool that we're using to help our clients with their assets. But yeah, I do use AI in those ways. It's also interesting to see AI popping up in a lot of the applications that we already use as business owners. So, like Canva has an AI feature now, Google has an AI feature. It's pretty much everywhere in most applications. Your emails probably have it. Anywhere you look, there's probably a new feature that says, "Here's our new AI tool. Try it out for us." So it's getting harder and harder to avoid, but primarily generative AI, yeah, and specifically still with conversational AI, so words, outlines, numbers, code, that sort of thing. I wanna be very specific with that. I do not really do the images, videos, music side of generative AI. That's pretty much where I use it right now. I think at first, in that initial stage when we all signed up for AI, it was kind of like, "Whoa, this is really cool, like, look how instantaneous it is." It really scratched that itch that we all have for instant gratification of, like, "Make me a list of da da da," and it boom, like, we're, "Ah!" That's so cool, and I think some of that is starting to wear off and people are getting critical of it, right? And it is learning still, it is still iterating, but I think some of that shininess is wearing off and we're starting to see it for what it really is, and we're holding it a little bit more accountable than we did in that beginning boom, and that's where some of the criticism is coming from, let alone all the other impacts that AI has. But my first reaction was, "Wow, this can be a really powerful tool if it's used well, because look how efficient it is at getting information quickly." We thought search engines were efficient from libraries.
Mm.
Now we have AI over search engines. This is really cool. Jump in technology. It'll be interesting to see where it goes. So let's
Yeah.
talk more about how we use it in a typical week. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's get into it.
I wrote down some things so that I don't forget. So I'm gonna like read from my list. So for
Yeah.
example, for our podcast, I asked for angles for like social media posts because I don't like necessarily just like to put like a summary of the
Uh,
conversation. So I might ask for like different angles, like how to approach this conversation. And of course, it's like practical for making summaries like for copywriting, for example, like I do a lot of, or the most copywriting that I do at the moment is email copywriting. So things like, for example, ideating subject lines and like preview lines, like give me like 20 ideas for this. And sometimes I ask it to like audit, think like a professional copywriter and audit my email, for example, for clarity, for specificity, like sometimes I just ask for a general audit. Sometimes I get more specific. I ask for hooks, like for different kinds of copy assets, like emails too. Like if I want to, if I have like a topic, like, so what's like, how can I hook the reader? Like give me a list of hooks, or like I might ask storytelling ideas. So many things. I think like like if I have to like distill it into like I don't know, something short. I'm trying to use it as a thinking partner, not to like outsource my thinking to it, but like to help me think better, like more clearly, more specifically. And I
Yeah,
think this is for me, like that's where it's like really useful, and I feel like it makes me
yeah,
faster and
totally,
at best better at my job. And I
totally.
yeah, those things. I also like use it to proofread. For example, I write an email really fast, and if it's like I ask, like, can you like please
Yeah,
proofread it? And it's been a while already, but like a recent discovery is actually the dictation, or the like talking to the AI. If I have like an idea, for example, for a social post,
yeah,
I just talk to it, like whatever comes to my mind, and then I ask it to create something like a post from it, and I try to be like very clear in my
yeah,
the command or prompt that I want it to sound like me, like I don't, because well that well, I have so many thoughts in my mind now, it's hard to like formulate full sentences, but because like the biggest one of the biggest problem, like as a messaging professional copywriter, like marketer, is that AI makes us sound so generic if we're not conscious how we use it. So I try my best, for example, if I do the dictation, to make sure that it's me. Like I really want it to sound like me, like what comes out. And then usually it's this like back and forth process of me then again editing what comes out. And sometimes I do wonder, like, okay, I wonder if this was actually faster than if I had just like written something. But I do, yeah. So I try to use it as a thinking partner, like a yeah.
yeah. It's a great brainstorming partner. I use it that way too, in a
Yeah.
lot of ways, for work and for life,
Mhm.
honestly. I don't know, about 6 months ago, I bought a couch, and I wasn't sure if the couch would look good in my living room, the one I wanted, so I took the picture off of offline, and I put it in ChatGPT, and I said, "Put this couch in my living room," so I could see what it looked
Interesting.
like in my
Yeah.
living room. And it helped. It helps,
Yeah.
to have the visual. I was like, "Oh, okay, that actually does look good," you know?
Yeah.
So it can be a great brainstormer, decision maker, like
Yeah.
that partner to help. I think though, like it's interesting while you were talking, hearing it reflect back, because I use it in some of the same ways, hearing it reflect back to me, I was like, oh man, I wonder if we're overthinking. Cause you were like, I wonder if it took more time than if I
Yeah.
just wrote something. I'm like, oh, that's such a good point. I wonder if we're overthinking because we're
Mhm.
feeling like we have to check with AI now. Like,
Yeah.
"Hey, I wanna
Yeah.
write a post about this, and is this a good hook? What do you think about this? Is there a way I can make this better?" Like, we almost feel like we have to check to optimize with AI. Just hearing you reflect back to me, I'm like, "Man, I wonder how much I'm overthinking my content because I use
Yeah.
AI."
Yeah, and like following on that, I think that where the fear of like losing our own voice is, and it's a huge
Yeah,
like fear for me, and it's already happening. Like I think this is also like one of the
yeah,
most awful things, awful or sad outcomes of AI, that because like our voice, like our unique like point of view, like
yeah,
our humanness, like what we think about things, like whether we're like business owners or I don't know, like right out there on social media as like private people, it's like yeah, it's all of that that makes us interesting and human. So yeah, I think there's a big fear that it in the end it's like this overthought, over I don't know, over polished content instead
yeah.
of yeah, a human expressing themselves. Yeah.
Absolutely. But yeah, pretty much everything you touched on, I feel like I align with in how I use it. Brainstorming, definitely the subject lines. That's a great place to start for an email too. If you're not sure where to start your email, brainstorming the subject lines with AI really sets the tone for how the content will go, at least in my opinion. I also really find because I have a client that has content go out throughout the month, and as a female, the month changes week to week, and my energy levels change week to week, and AI lets me stay top performing week to
Mm.
week. So I have that support no matter where I am in life,
Yeah.
biologically, emotionally, what have you. I have that support to stay at the same level. Before I was following and leaning into a lot of coaches that were helping women align businesses to their cycles, to be more in tune with their bodies, and I still believe in that, but in many ways, we don't have a choice. Like, clients still need assets at certain times, and so in order to do the work that we wanna do, serve the people we wanna serve, make the impact we wanna make, sometimes we have to work when it's uncomfortable for us. And this lets us still feel good about the products we're producing, the services we're providing, even when we don't feel the best
Yeah.
because we've worked with AI. We've produced that partner to a certain point, so when it is ready, when it is time, excuse me, for it to step in at that time that we're feeling a little low, it can, and it
Yeah.
is still a product that's led, directed, proofed, finalized by us, but we have that support to really help us drive it through. And yes, that leads to another question of, well, couldn't that role have been filled by a junior copywriter? Shouldn't you have hired a human to help you on that team? Sure. Yeah, maybe I should. Not everyone's in a financial place to do that,
Mm.
though.
Yeah.
And that's just the reality. And
Yeah.
I don't have enough work to give a junior copywriter. I really don't. If I did, I would absolutely hire a junior copywriter. But right now, it's just enough work for me to handle. And it's every once in a while that I'm like, man, I cannot write another blog. I cannot do it, you know? And
Yeah.
so to have that partner in crime, yes, it's AI, but right here at my laptop helping me draft this, cool. And it's, again, still driven by me, it's still written by me, but it's just someone right there with me in the writing process. Awesome. If I had more work, if I had some like that financial support that I could support someone else, I absolutely would. What I mean to say with all of that is it's an interesting tool for how it can support people, but then on the flip side of that same coin, it's an interesting tool in how it's taking away opportunity for people.
Yeah.
Something to think about.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good points. I think I hadn't consciously thought about the how AI can help you like stay productive like consistently. Like I yeah,
Yeah,
had actually hadn't thought about it like yeah, so consciously on that level. And
it's a robot. It doesn't
yeah.
get sick. It
Yeah.
doesn't have bad days.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, it's true. One thing that I've been thinking about moving the conversation to a slightly different direction is that when I've talked about using AI, ChatGPT, whatever, like with friends, colleagues, not necessarily like other business owners, but it's been interesting to notice that people have like such different levels of experience. It seems, and it's
Yeah,
like, for example, like you, whoever out there listening to this, like what, like how much you use AI, or if at all. But I've noticed that there are like some friends who are still like really like staying away from it, like not
yeah,
using at all, or just like slowly starting to experiment. And then there are others who are like me and like much more advanced, in a way. Like I came to this point because you mentioned that it's like taking opportunities away from people, and for sure that's what's happening. Like the like,
yeah,
work is changing a lot because of AI.
yeah,
But I do think right now what I think is that it's very smart to like at least experiment with it. And like my fear is that if you don't, yeah, you're gonna be left behind. I hope not, but like nobody can predict the future. But I'm old enough to like remember what life was like before the internet. Like I
yeah,
almost like I think it just came around when I was in high school, but I didn't like use it at all yet. It was only after that. But I think this is possibly even a bigger change than the internet. So yeah, a very long-winded way of like getting to the point that I think it's important to like try to understand what's
totally agree.
happening here if you haven't yet. But like I would if I had to guess, probably our listeners are not completely like shunning AI.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
totally agree. I totally agree, and that goes back to the disclaimer that I put at the top of this episode, right? Like, it's not super pro, it's not super
Mm.
anti.
Yeah.
There's always gonna be a gray middle. We've all seen the articles about layoffs and companies saying, "Oh, we have AI to do that now." Like, a computer replaced all of our coders or whatever the tech companies' roles are, but as business owners, we have a choice to make, right? Your intention and how you run your business and how you want to interact with your customers and how you want to make an impact in the world, which includes how you run your business inside your business, matters. So if you want to use AI intentionally and take care of your people and bring them along in this AI boom, you can do that. If you want to replace your people, that's also a choice. That also has a certain intention behind it. But the take home message here is that the approach just needs to have intention behind it. If
Yeah.
you're brand new to AI, go into it with intention. Start small. Where is one area in your business that you're gonna like, I don't have time for this, or I dread doing this, or I don't know where to start with this? Start there. See how AI can help you sort through that. See what it frees up for you, see how it helps you problem solve, see what's possible. Start pulling on those threads. Go in with a very intentional question, see what solutions you get. Treat it like an experiment. I think that's really the take home message here. For anyone starting or for anyone wondering how AI is going to evolve in their business, it's all about intentionality. It doesn't have to be this scary, polarizing thing. It really doesn't. We can be very, very intentional about it and have it be grounded in our values and be okay with that. And yes, it has huge environmental impacts. And yes, it has huge impacts on our planet, just like many of the things like factory farms that many of us are against. But like you said, this is the future. And yes, we're early adopters of that. So we can adopt it intentionally, use it in a limited way so that we're part of the movement. We're caught up on the technology, but we're not overusing it. We're not Fortune 500 companies that are replacing full roles with it. We're brainstorming one little strategy with it,
Yeah.
And yes, every person matters, every person contributes. I understand.
Yeah.
But your impact can remain small and you can
Yeah.
still be part of it, part of the movement. Stay modern, stay in the know, keep your finger on the pulse, all those little colloquialisms, but just stay grounded in your values. Stay very intentional in how you use it. And I think you can't go wrong. You really
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah, such good words, and really I want to mention continue from that change is made up of like individual people like choosing things like every day, but I feel like like for example like the environmental cost of AI, it's not like our like we cannot solve that as like small vegan business owners, like
Right.
yes, we need to be like mindful and like you said, but I think it's important to remember that there's like bigger systems that we can like influence, like whether it's then like voting for politicians like who care about like controlling these like tech tech giants, or like
Yeah.
the local politicians choosing like where they can build the data centers, and like that instead of feeling helpless about that, you're just like such a small one individual person, like see where you can impact it, or who are the people like
Yeah.
who can
Absolutely.
decide. At least it like helps me. I feel like those posts have maybe diminished a little or like disappeared a little bit. I feel like at some point, at least in my feed, there was a lot about this, like, oh my God, how much like water AI uses and stuff. And yeah, it's important to be mindful of that. But there's a bigger picture.
And
I
it's all
wonder,
about informed choices, right?
yeah,
Like that as vegans, it's an informed choice to be a vegan and know where your food comes from and the impacts of your diet choices. So same thing if you're in your Google search, you can turn off the AI feature when you do a Google search.
yeah,
And then you can only use ChatGPT for brainstorming. So you can just be very intentional in how you use it so that your impact stays small. Yeah.
yeah. a personal question
Yeah.
that just came to my mind. All of this is personal, but do you worry that AI is like making you dumber? To make, put it very bluntly. Well, not dumber, but that is somehow like
Yeah,
impacting the way that you think
I
or
get it, yeah.
or
Oh, man, what a good question. Is AI making us dumber? So, some days I feel that way just because some days it'll say something that I'm like, "I never would have thought of that angle." You
Mhm.
know, like, when you ask it for angles on a
Yeah.
post or, like, you get so, like, zeroed in on things that you write sometimes that you're like, "Never would have gone left. I was so going right." Never even saw left, and sometimes it just zooms you out and you're like, "Duh, left." Like, you know? And so sometimes I feel that way because 'cause I'm like, "Wow, I never saw left coming." But overall, no. I really
Yeah.
truly do not feel like it's gonna make us dumb. I don't, because at least where it is right now, I still think AI is dumb,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to marketing. When it pulls when it drafts for me, I'm like, "Honey." Honey baby child, sunshine. Woo! I need to spend some time reworking this, but thank you for your try,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah, no, it's not
Yeah.
taking my job anytime soon, no.
Yeah.
So that's always a boost because 'cause I'm like, "Wow, I get to edit the crap out of this," you know? Yeah,
Yeah.
so I don't feel dumb.
I'm glad that your answer brought us to this because I feel very much the same. Like sometimes I'm like also surprised by its capabilities and but then most of the time I'm like, no, I've spent so much of my life overthinking. I'm like ha- happy if somebody makes it a bit like faster. But then yeah, the like at the end of the day, or for me, it's been helpful to like come to the point where I understand that okay, for these tasks, it's really good, but for these tasks, such as drafting anything from scratch, it's just not. And you would think that after now like minimum of 2 years that I've been using it, I thought it has a lot of like information about me, especially like my voice. Either I don't know how to train it right, or then it's just like not that good. But I'm like, that does not sound like me. What makes me sad is when people somehow or I feel like for example on social posts or whatever marketing materials
Yeah,
out there, when it looks like people have just outsourced their thinking to
yep,
it, and it's just like please don't do
yeah,
that.
yeah. Totally, totally. Oh, I so agree with you, and I will fight with AI too if I'm feeling
Yeah.
particularly spicy, like, I'd be like, do not do this," and it'll be like, "Oh, you're totally right, thank you for
Yeah.
telling me," and then it'll do the same exact thing, and I'm like, "I told you not to do
Yeah.
this." "Oh, thank you for flagging," and it'll do it again, and I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah,
"I
this is
cannot tell you to do not do this again, like, I'm just gonna go do it." Yeah, so
yeah.
it's got a long way to go, and I agree with you, I feel like it forgets my voice, like, every other time that I use it, so,
Yeah.
all good. I feel like as we wrap up, Johanna, we should leave our audience with some ways to get started with AI or things that they can do to kind of explore. I know one of the things that I wanted to talk about was creating an AI policy. If
Mhm.
you're a
Yeah.
service provider, it doesn't have to be anything super formal. This is mostly just something that I started drafting and playing with personally in case clients started asking, like, how do you work with AI? Because it's becoming more prevalent, I wanted something that could help me stand out with new clients, just
Yeah.
being very open. Yes, I do use AI. It's meant to enhance my work, that sort of thing,
Yeah.
and show them how it's a benefit to how I produce assets for them. So, personally, for me, I went over how I use AI. So, again, the things we talked about today, it's support, it's brainstorming, initial ideas, rough outlines, but reassuring the clients that everything I deliver is led, shaped, refined by me. I use it to help me think, not write for them. Your voice stays yours, reassuring them that their brand voice is 100% theirs. AI is just the starting point, never the finish line. I make sure that I bring my editorial judgment to everything I produce for them, my industry knowledge, human creativity, to make sure that it sounds like them and the data stays private. People need to understand that you cannot put proprietary information into AI. It still learns from everything, even when you tell it not to sometimes. So please, please, please be careful with what you put in from clients. In my policy, I said I don't put your confidential business information, brand strategy, customer data, any sensitive materials into AI. Your business is yours. That stays private with me. And if a client ever wanted to know how I'm using AI specifically on their project, there's a transparency part of this too, where they can just ask, and I'm happy to walk them through the exact process of how I used AI on their project. And then I end it with a little note on my values. I recognize that AI comes with real environmental and ethical considerations and explain how I use it very intentionally, just like we talked about in this episode. One thing I really want to leave on too in this episode is this is just a point in this conversation of AI. And it's something that all of us need to continue to evaluate, continue to think about and revisit because AI is going to continue to develop, right?
Yeah.
So keep your finger on the pulse and see what develops, what comes up that's new. Maybe something changes that changes what aligns with your values. So make sure that your policy stays up to date with that. So it's very short, just those couple points. Something I plan to post on my website,
Yeah.
post on my social media, share with clients directly as I onboard them. But I want to throw that out there in case that sparks any interest in something that one of our listeners might want to draft for themselves. What about you? Anything you want to challenge our listeners to try?
Well, first of all, thank you for sharing the policy. That's something I'm gonna consider after this as well. I don't have anything in place, but yeah, probably it's a very like smart idea. I think if you haven't tried this like dictation yet, I would say like try that. I don't know how common it is. It works the best in English. I've noticed that in Finnish, like yeah, it's not that great, and sometimes it like switches the languages or
No
like
way.
even though I keep telling it like let's keep speaking Finnish, talking Finnish, like, and I talk in Finnish, that it still like keeps switching back to English, and then I've tried to
Wow.
like change it in the settings and whatever. So that has been a bit of a hassle. But I find that the really like talking to it, like I don't want the AI talking to me. I'm old school like that. I just want to read like but like play with that. Like for example, if you've been if you have like a like social media post idea, like talk it out there and then like play with it, like ask it different angles, ask it to produce hooks, like ask it like what's unique about this idea, like how I could develop this further, like things like that.
I haven't tried that. I always I guess it's the Gemini in me. I wanna have the conversation. I need the other side. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna try the dictation and just
Yeah.
talk to it.
Yeah, cool. And like, I think like the one final thought, I was just looking at my notes here. Orientation, like I think try to use AI at the beginning of the process to make life easier for you rather than at the end. Like for like I think that the mistake is like write this post for me. Like you should start like much earlier. So, and I hope what we've talked about in this episode it has answered, like, or given you some ideas, like, as a thinking partner, like at the start, rather than write me a post about why I need this and this. So, yeah.
Love it. Oh, we covered so much in this episode. This is such a great conversation. I hope it inspired some people out there maybe to come away from one of those polls and sit in the gray with us as we talked about some of these issues. We'd love to hear from you. How are you using AI? Are you using AI? Are you
Yeah,
one of those that this didn't change your mind? You're still not going to touch it? We want to know. Either way, we're really curious to how our listeners are embracing or not embracing this new technology. Let us know in the comments under this video or reach out to our Gmail. And we'll probably have another plant powered chat sometime soon. So we
yeah.
hope to see you on the next one as well. Thanks, everyone. See you
Thank
next
you.
time.
Bye.